Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Alexander Creek, astrologer and intuitive. We're going to be talking about the lunar eclipse in Pisces today and the astrology around that, as well as the astrology for the 12 signs. There's a lot to talk about. It's always exciting because this eclipses are always exciting, and these eclipses are going to be in a new pair of signs. So, because we haven't had an eclipse in Virgo or Pisces since February 2017. So this should be interesting and kind of light up a new life area for you. I did want to let you know I am opening up eclipse readings on my website, dogstarOracle.com, or you can go to my Instagram or just click the link here in the show notes. If you're listening to the audio podcast or if you're listening on YouTube, just go to the comments. It'll be right there. This is a mini session I do twice a year during eclipse seasons, and I delineate the eclipses for you, talk about what maybe what to expect, what life areas are being activated here, along with other important planetary cycles that are happening for you at the same time. So if you want more information, this is a live session, so it'll be on phone or Zoom. I do record them for you as well. So to go ahead and book that, or to find out more information, go to my website, Darkstar Oracle, or any of the other links I mentioned. So let's go ahead and talk about the astrology of the eclipses. So, like I mentioned, eclipses usually happen in pairs. So, we've been having eclipses in Aries and Libra since early 2023, and so this would be eclipses in a new pair of signs, really kind of activating a different part of your chart. So, eclipses are really interesting. New moons and full moons in astrology. They're kind of like electrified, supercharged new and full moons that tend to be more erratic and more unpredictable. When we have eclipses kind of in these series, we tend to notice, significant beginnings and significant endings in some area of life. For some of you, these eclipses may not be a big deal, right? You may just simply notice, oh, there's definitely more happening in these areas of life that Alex talked about according to my astrology. For some of you, it's a much bigger deal. Because especially if eclipses make aspects to different kind of key parts of your birth chart, it can point to like, hey, you're kind of getting the more sort of faded feeling eclipse, or the more significant beginnings, significant endings that can come with eclipses. But not every eclipse is going to change your life, right? Like, it's just not, like, statistically, just that doesn't seem right. And that's just not how astrology works. It really has to be making very specific kind of aspects in your chart for it to really kind of for you to really feel that in your life. So eclipses always happen near the transiting north and south node. So the north and south node are these sort of astronomical points about the orbit of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. I'm not sure how it's calculated. But the north and south node are these sort of mathematical points, and that tends to be near where eclipses happen. So if we have so the north and south node are still in Aries and Libra. So these Virgo and Pisces eclipses are really going to get going next year. This one kind of feels like more of a preview. However, it's still an eclipse. I still think it'll be, I still think it'll feel significant for some people. I tend to notice like drama around eclipse season every year. Like every time that we're near a lunar or solar eclipse, I just notice people around me having these great beginnings, great endings, just eclipse drama. So eclipses are essentially supercharged new and full moons. Since this is a lunar eclipse in Pisces, it's a lunar eclipse, so it's going to be more of a full moon. However, like I mentioned before, this is a more erratic or unpredictable energy. There with a lunar eclipse, it tends to be things that are culmination, completion, release, endings, sudden insights, awareness, or news can happen around an eclipse. So when you're kind of looking at how the events of eclipse might manifest, you want to give it about 1.5 weeks on either side of that eclipse. There does tend to be a delay time. Sometimes it can happen right on the day. Sometimes it can happen a little bit before and a little bit after. As far as like doing a ritual or a manifestation thing or like casting a spell. For eclipses, this is something that you don't really want to do during eclipses, or specifically, you don't want to be doing magic or energy work that is about like attaining something or manifesting something or having things go a certain way, because eclipses are like this weird liminal in between space that are simply more erratic and unpredictable. So your energy work may backfire on you or not go the way that you intended. If you're going to do some kind of ritual, I think simply honoring the eclipses is great. Or you could even do something where it's about like releasing something or shedding something as well, or like letting go of something can also be can be good to do around an eclipse. But I tend to stay away from like I want to get this promotion and casting it like around an eclipse, because it just may not go the way that you expect, essentially. So, like I mentioned, not every eclipse is life-changing. You will notice its effects more if that eclipse. So, first of all, you're going to look at the house, which we're going to do today as part of the reading for your sign. So, because we all have Virgo and Pisces in our chart somewhere, for me, Pisces rules my fifth house, which is romance, any children I have, which I have zero. But romance, creative projects, your passions, things that are fun. Virgo rules my 11th house, which is like groups of people, colleagues, friends, my hopes, wishes, and goals for the future. So you all have Virgo and Pisces somewhere in your chart, and it all rules like a different life area, and that's going to depend on your rising sign. And again, we'll be talking about readings for those signs in just a little bit here. However, so you may notice stuff like kind of happening in that life area. However, like the really dramatic ones, the eclipses that really kind of shift everything or have really big beginnings or endings tied to them, are probably going to be aspecting like your like one of the planets in your chart, for example. So let's say this eclipse is very tightly conjunct your Venus. Venus in astrology represents relationships, connection, coming together, pleasure. It also rules. It also can rule like money as well, or have like money things to it tied to it, because Venus rules things that we value. So, let's say an eclipse hits your Venus in your chart. It could be an ending of a relationship. It could be something really significant. Maybe you're going to like the next level, or maybe you're ending like your current status of single and going to something like engaged, right? Let's say Venus in your chart. Let's say that you are Cancer rising, and that would mean that you have Libra on the fourth house. The fourth house is home and family. Because Libra is a sign ruled by Venus, we would say that Venus rules your fourth house of home and family. And this would be true for all Cancer risings. So let's say this eclipse conjuncts Venus, right? So it could be really something significant involving your relationships with your family. It could be things involving your home. Maybe you're getting like ready to move and you're like listing your house or something like that. But that's a little bit of how we would read an astrology chart in connection to these eclipses. So, I did want to mention as well, the last time that we had eclipses in Virgo and Pisces, those took place from March 2015 through February 2017. That period of time, there were other signs, though, that were having eclipses at the same time, so it's not really cut and dry. But especially, you may want to think about what was maybe happening for you from November 13th, 2015 through like mid-May 2017. Because that is when specifically the North Node and South Node were in Virgo and Pisces. So really kind of amplifying that eclipse story, thinking about if you know where Virgo and Pisces are in your chart, and you will after this video, because we're going to talk about where these eclipses are happening in your chart. So you may want to think during that time about how these sort of life areas may have been impacted by those eclipses, or a little bit about what was happening. Because the life areas that were kind of going on for you at that time, even if I don't specifically mention what they are, you want to think about what was happening from November 13, 2015 through May 2017, because those life areas are likely to come up again. It will be a different story. So if you're like, that was the worst time of my life, I don't want to do that again, it's probably not going to be the same thing. It's going to be something different, but it will involve maybe some similar life areas. So let's say that there was like your personal life and relationships were just atrocious during that time. Doesn't mean it is going to be again, but you may be revisiting some themes and thinking about like, hey, I'm actually making moves in my life. I'm actually growing. I have opportunities coming in, or um, it doesn't have to be the same story, but you will be revisiting some of the same life areas. Essentially, there is going to be a connection back to that window of time. So specifically, this lunar eclipse is a full moon, right? So like I mentioned, there are themes relating to culmination, completion, release, and endings. Also, news, insights, and awarenesses. If there is an ending around this eclipse, it is likely to be permanent. That's just kind of like the way that eclipses work. Eclipses can feel very fated sometimes too. It's like something comes into your life around an eclipse and something can go out of your life around an eclipse as well. And because this eclipse is in Pisces, Pisces is a water sign. So there's likely to be some tenderness and some emotion coming up with this eclipse. Pisces is considered, I really consider it like a very psychic, tuned in intuition sign. So this eclipse can sort of really help you tune into your intuition or your creativity. And this is a very mystical feeling eclipse too, because it's going to be conjunct Neptune. I will explain kind of Neptune in a second here. I'm going to say on a global level, actually, first of all, Kamala Harris is a Gemini rising. So this eclipse would be in her 10th house. By the way, I forgot to actually mention when this eclipse is going to be. It is going to be on September 17th. So about a week from me uploading this is when we're actually going to have this, is when we're going to have this eclipse. So if I forgot to mention that, sorry. So events, about a week and a half of either side of September 17th is kind of when we're fully in eclipse season right now. So, I don't know. I don't know how this is connected to Kamala. I just thought of that just now, but that actually is her 10th house of like profession, career accomplishment, all that kind of stuff. So maybe some news connected to her or something, but it's kind of vague considering she's like running for president right now. But anyway, but I'm going to say news connected to weather events, connected to the ocean, or just like news connected to the ocean, because Neptune rules the ocean, period. So full moon, full moons do tend to like amplify storms and stuff. Especially, a full moon in a water sign. So I would be maybe a little concerned about like hurricanes and that kind of stuff connected to this eclipse. But back to kind of the general energy. So this eclipse conjunct Neptune. Neptune represents the ocean. And Neptune is also it's like the planet of like higher consciousness. So this eclipse conjunct Neptune really kind of amplifies this really dreamy energy around this eclipse, like themes of surrendering, of release, of, like I would maybe take like a really delicious salt bath like around this eclipse. Like think that cleansing, the letting go, the surrender, the water could be a really good way to work with this energy. Neptune also is infamous for kind of being when it's in your chart somewhere, it can be about where you only see the good in something or where you don't see things clearly, because Neptune can be very much like rose-colored glasses. So this eclipse could be connected to like only seeing the good in something, or something might just seem too good to be true, and you will really kind of for example, let's say this eclipse is about a relationship for you. It could be like, this relationship is perfect and fulfills me, and I'm ignoring all the red flags, right? Because Neptune tends to obscure or confuse. So there could be a little bit of a confusing element to this eclipse, like it just feels very mystical, very vibey, but we may not have all of the information around the time of the eclipse, essentially. The other thing is, this eclipse is co-present with Saturn. So we have an eclipse in Pisces. We've also had Saturn in Pisces since 2023. Saturn being the planet of mastery, lessons, delays, limitations, and just like Saturn is the planet about like you better get real, essentially, right? So we have Neptune here, the planet of unrealistic expectations and everything working out perfectly and magically, and maybe that will work out for you that way. But Saturn here with this eclipse is saying like, you may be taking something more seriously, in this area of your life where the eclipse is falling, there may be some themes of commitment um, connected to this eclipse as well, or like having to set healthy, realistic boundaries with this eclipse. So there's like this balance between like the spiritual, the ethereal, compassion, seeing the good in something. Um, and I feel like the energies around this eclipse are definitely pointing out the need for hope and optimism and compassion, but also setting realistic expectations, which is Saturn, and really putting in the work to have it succeed. Part of the reason where I get this sort of hope energy from is because Pisces is traditionally ruled by the planet Jupiter. The planet Jupiter, is the planet of optimism, of expansion. And so I feel like we sort of have both energies going here. So like expect the best, but definitely set realistic expectations and putting in the work to have something succeed. It's like the balance between this Jupiter and Neptune stuff as well as Saturn here. So I also the part of the part of your chart that is going to have this eclipse, like I mentioned, Saturn, right? So Saturn's energy, it's like, okay, for example, Saturn has been moving through my fifth house, and I'm currently in a relationship, long distance. We're really not sure how it's going to work out, and we're having to sort of like make time and make it a priority for it to succeed. So we don't know how it's going to work out, Neptune, but it also feels very magical, Neptune, but also putting in the work for it to succeed, kind of putting a little damper on the fun, but also seeing the long-term vision, which is Saturn. So like both of these elements are going to be playing out in the same life area of whatever Pisces is for you. This is where we're going to be seeing some of like this mixture of energy. And like I mentioned, this begins a story, a new narrative for you of something. There's like events in this area of your life that's maybe changing. There's new events coming in with this eclipse. And you're going to see this sort of new story developing over like the next 2 years or year and a half. I can't remember where these Virgo and Pisces eclipses are going to be happening, because we have more Virgo and Pisces eclipses next year. The eclipse we're going to have 2 weeks from now is going to actually be a solar eclipse in Libra. So it may be unrelated to this new narrative that is starting. I feel like I just burped out my coffee. Lovely. So let's talk about where these eclipses are going to be happening for you in your chart, a little bit about what to expect. And remember, you really want to be reading for your rising sign, or watching for your rising sign, or listening for your rising sign in this case. That is going to be dependent on accurate birth time. If you have an accurate birth time, you'll want to head to astro.com or astro-seek.com and calculate your birth chart for free. It'll say either rising sign or ascendant. That's the sign that you want to listen for. If you don't know your birth time, I would listen to your sun or moon sign, whichever is resonating more for you. But it will probably be the most accurate if you're listening for your rising sign. And again, there's a lot of stuff in your chart that I don't know. I want if you are curious about, if you want to get a little reading on my YouTube channel / this podcast on these eclipses and maybe kind of what I might see for you in your personal birth chart, please email me or DM me on Instagram. So you can DM me on Instagram, which is Dogstar Oracle, DOG Star Oracle, OARCLE. Or you can also email me. I'll leave my email in the show notes or the comments on YouTube, and just send me your birth information. I'm going to pick one person, and I will be looking at a sample, and I'll be talking about what I'm seeing for you for these eclipses. So please let me know, especially if you have Pisces, Virgo, or Aries or Libra in your chart, because these are the eclipses these are the signs that are going to be affected by this energy. So we're going to go ahead and start doing those chart readings here. So let's look at Aries up first. Okay, so let's talk about where this is falling for Aries rising. By the way, if you don't want to hear all the signs and you just want to hear your own, definitely refer to those timestamps on either the show notes if you're listening to the audio version, or go to the comments on YouTube, and then it'll say exactly where in the video the reading for your sign is. So, first of all, let's go to. So Aries rising. This eclipse is starting like a new series of eclipses in your 12th house. This is definitely going to give you some illumination or maybe prompt some soul searching. The 12th house has to do with, kind of what's going on with you emotionally, mentally, spiritually under the hood, things that are hidden from you or hidden from your like normal day-to-day life. This could be about themes connecting to rest and retreat and maybe isolation. So there might be a need for that, or you might be maybe reaching some sort of culmination or conclusion to maybe if you have been working on like mental health or spiritual health or something connected to that, because Saturn, the planet of mastery and lessons, has been moving to the same part of your chart since March 2023. So you have been doing the work, I think, to some degree. So this is a really good time to be connected to some like spiritual healing, or something connected to that, or something that, connecting to something that feels like greater than you, just because this eclipse will be with Neptune, that planet of higher consciousness, surrender, and release. If you're really I'm going to say, if you're feeling kind of the opposite, if you're feeling kind of down for like no reason, or you're just like moody, this could be, again, this could sort of prompt like, some kind of soul searching for you. I would say also you want to be cautious to not escape too much or indulge in too much escapism, because Neptune can kind of do that. So that's kind of what's happening for Aries rising. For Taurus, this new eclipse series, you're beginning some eclipses in your 11th house. So Pisces is your 11th house. The 11th house has to do with groups, with colleagues, with community, with networks, with people and organizations that you belong to. This could be about, I'm trying to think, the 11th house. This could be any sort of culmination, completion event, or sort of things starting, or you're releasing something that is connected to people that you associate with. So perhaps maybe you're leaving some group or something that you are a part of, or maybe there's some sort of like event culminating in like social media space, or it could also be that maybe you are like having some realizations or information coming in around your hopes, wishes, and goals for the future. Maybe you're like shifting your goals around. Maybe you're going to be doing maybe you're going to be wanting to sort of like manifest something else. So there's like a lot of mystical kind of vibey energy in this part of your chart. So this might be a time when you might want to like go into meditation and ask the universe about like what you should be trying to achieve right now. And it's certainly on a more mundane level, it could just be like an ending or something connected, like an ending or a culmination or news connected to groups that you belong to, connected to friends that you belong to, like connected to like friends or friend groups that you belong to. But the 11th house is often like friends, networking, colleagues. So when we look at Gemini, this is happening in a really kind of important part of your chart. This is happening in your 10th house. So there is some sort of, culmination, realization, completion, something going on in your 10th house of career. So there could be, it's like you could be maybe wanting to commit to something more serious, or like, in career things, because Saturn is there. Perhaps there is something like some sort of story happening that is around, again, anything connected to like an ending, a completion, a conclusion. With with Neptune here, it's important to I'm going to say if you're like feeling kind of stressed or down or wallowing, it's important to not stay wallowing because Neptune can be like a wallowing planet and it's up there in your 10th house. Or maybe you're just sure, maybe you're just not sure how to proceed exactly with career. Maybe you can't exactly see the path forward. That's going to be a temporary influence because of Neptune. But this also, I think, this also does set the stage of over like the next year and a half of maybe you having some important achievements, of harvesting essentially what you have been working on for the past several years as far as your career goes too. So we're sort of planting some like a seed to an important storyline that's going to be about your career and also home and family. That is beginning to happen now. So for Cancer rising, the eclipse is happening in the ninth house. So you're having a new story developing. Really, that's going to get going, I think, January of 2025 around some new things coming in relating to higher education, expanding the mind, spirituality, travel. So like, because that's really going to be hitting your communication, mind, learning, travel axis, starting with this eclipse, really kind of getting going next year. So, with this eclipse, you could be really kind of having some sort of spiritual awakening, frankly, or having some connection to the divine, with Neptune in this part of your chart. With Saturn here, maybe you have been working on something connected to maybe excuse me, like connected to like refining your beliefs, working on things connected to higher education and travel. But I just feel like that really kind of gets going next year. There's like a lot more activity in the same part of your chart. So yeah, a little preview, but I really kind of that ninth house energy is going to be coming through pretty strong for you. Um, for Leo rising, there's a new story that's developing in the eighth house. So this is a culmination, completion, release thing, full moon. The eighth house has to do with joint finances. So, you and a partner's money, you and a roommate's like bills. It could be loans, investments, insurance, matters surrounding like your will or inheritance or more like things connected to like mortality can be connected to eighth house. So, maybe you're shifting your money around. Maybe there's an ending or a beginning connected to a storyline involving, your shared resources, your shared debts, your partner's money. There's something maybe happening with that. With this eighth house, I'm going to say it's important to have all the information before you make big decisions regarding your finances, because Neptune here can obscure and confuse. So you may not be able to see everything that's happening, or I would maybe like try to wait if possible before like making these like bigger financial decisions. Just give it a few days until after the eclipse is over, just because Neptune can be really tricky. And perhaps maybe you've been feeling some weight on you, or like the weight of like time and reality, and like having to deal with things connected to your shared finances, because Saturn has been in that same part of your chart since last March of 2023. So but yeah, there's more events connected to that, that are going to start happening January 2025 when the nodes move into Pisces, into Virgo. So definitely things happening with you in finances with these Virgo and Pisces eclipse. It doesn't have to be bad. It can be ultimately be a positive thing, but I do feel like there's a storyline that's going to be starting to bubble up there. With Virgo rising, obviously this eclipse is in your opposite sign, Pisces. So you are really going to be having some acceleration, I think, of personal growth and things happening in your relationships. Starting, I think that's been happening for you, but there's like a new take on the story. There's like something else that is developing. And I think it really kind of gets going in 2025, but this kind of just is sort of like a preview of it. So there is a culmination, a release, a completion, an ending connected to your relationships and your partnerships. Perhaps your partnership dynamics are shifting. Perhaps you're, going to the next level in some kind of partnerships, or perhaps you're having like an ending in one of the relationships in your life. Um, um, I would mention too, with Neptune here, there could be something around like forgiveness and compassion and just like letting something go. So if there has been some sort of complicated things between you and partners, because Saturn has been there too, like, lessons and heaviness and responsibility connected to partnerships. Neptune here can actually be about like, let's just have compassion and kind of like forget the past, right? There also can be something about, like maybe you're not seeing something clearly connected to your partnerships as well with Neptune here. But I really feel like this is another, I just feel like you are really going to be, there's going to be some changes for you coming, and changes in your relationship dynamics, especially beginning in 2025. Or how like the world sees you, or how you see yourself, and having a lot of personal growth and self-development, and like letting go of what doesn't serve you is really coming in 2025 when the nodes go into Virgo and Pisces. So yeah, because the eclipses for you the past several months have been in your financial sectors, and it's just switching to bigger kind of sectors of your life. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes out for you. Libra rising. So the eclipses have been mostly in your sign and in Aries. So you've really been having a lot of changes or fluctuations or beginnings and endings in like the really core areas of your life, in relationships and self and identity, as well as home and family. This eclipse starts to change things for you, and it's introducing new themes. This eclipse is in your sixth house. So there could be really a lot of focus and awareness or events connected to health and work. So, perhaps you have been really working on health. Perhaps, you've been really forced to kind of implement new health routines because Saturn is here, and Saturn's like, do the work. Because Saturn can also be about things that are kind of a bummer sometimes, right? Restrictions, delays, things that are hard. So you're having to work on it because you have to. Same thing with work. Perhaps there's more responsibility on you at work, or perhaps there's like some certain limitations around your daily work. But with this eclipse, there's some sort of ending. There's some sort of culmination to these events. Perhaps you're having to commit to more regarding your health and work. I'm going to say there's also maybe, again, with Neptune here, perhaps there's something that that's going to come up that you can't see through clearly, or maybe there's a job opportunity that comes up and it's like feels a little bit too good to be true. You really want to investigate that more clearly. If it's a health thing that maybe comes up for you, I'm going to say maybe it's, and I'm not saying that this is likely, but if there is a health event that comes up, it could be that, maybe the symptoms are not clear. Maybe there's not like a clear cause. Neptune can kind of obscure and confuse. So just kind of give it a couple days after the eclipse to pass to maybe get some like realistic data about if there is like a health event that comes up for you. It's also possible that there's an event or a culmination or ending, or maybe even a beginning involving a pet as well, because sixth house often involves our sort of domesticated animals. Okay, for Scorpio rising, the eclipse is going to be in your fifth house. So there's some sort of culmination, completion, release, maybe like a really heart-centered thing connecting to your romantic relationships. Maybe you are ready to take something seriously in your romance. I'm going to say there maybe been some significant limitations on your time or anything involving romantic relationships. Maybe it's like you haven't been feeling like you've been able to get anything off the ground. When it comes to creative projects, it might be that you really have to set aside time or make them a priority, or maybe that you're taking your hobbies more seriously now. So there's something, or it could be also something with a child, or pregnancy with this eclipse. You could definitely find out that there's like a serious commitment to a child that you're going to have, or something serious involving a child. So yeah, I would say anything with these life areas may come up with this eclipse for you, and it's going to be starting a sort of a new eclipse narrative kind of for you over the next several months, involving these topics. Again, make sure that it's not too good to be true, that you're setting like realistic limitations and expectations if something does come up with like maybe like a new relationship or a relationship that's getting more serious, or that your creative hobbies are getting more serious or something like that. Just make sure that you have all the information and that you are setting realistic boundaries. Sagittarius rising. This eclipse, there's some new events and stories are going to be happening for you with your home and your family or your physical residence, and also with your career. So because Pisces is Sagittarius is your fourth house of home and family. So that's so it's possible that over the next several months, we can move, we can change our home, we can expand, we're going to redecorate, or there's just a lot going on with the home, or perhaps with your family. It could be your parents, or kind of what is going on in like the most private part of your life, and also in the structure and deepest foundations of your life as well. It's likely that maybe there's been more commitment to home or family, or that there's been some feelings of limitation or responsibility around these areas. With this eclipse, again, it's conjunct Neptune, so it could be something that is maybe a little confusing, or perhaps we're not seeing it super clearly when it comes to home, or like if you're like thinking about moving or purchasing a home at this time, I would be really careful. Make sure maybe you get some inspectors in there. Just because Neptune can be about something that we're not seeing at first, especially water things. So if we're looking at buying home, moving home, I would just be really cautious around water things and get someone to inspect something for you. But anyway, changes involving career and home are going to start coming in. I think this eclipse is just a preview, but those things really get going in 2025. Capricorn rising. Pisces is the third house for you. So third house is like anything with communication, with writing, with the mind, and our daily rituals. So Saturn has been here for quite a while, since March 2023. I think helping you clarify your thoughts, to take your own role as a communicator very seriously. Maybe now you are someone, like, for example, like let's say at work, maybe you're leading workshops or teaching people how to do things. Or maybe there's something just more serious about your commute or your daily rituals. So third house can just be a lot. It's hard to kind of spit it out in just a few words. However, this lunar eclipse is, maybe you put the finishing touches on some sort of communications project, or something that you are about to teach, or perhaps you are really driven right now to journal or write down your thoughts. The moon being in the third house, because this is a lunar eclipse in the third, the moon actually rejoices in the third house. This could be a really powerful time to do some kind of divination or tarot card pull, because there's this like mystical kind of feeling here. Again, there is like a very kind of spiritual quality here with Neptune as well. So it's like maybe we're getting some like profound messages from beyond, essentially. And it's like there's some sort of, I think, spiritual or mystical underpinnings to your communication. So I would say talk to the universe right now. It's also starting a new chain of events in your third and ninth houses. So things with education, communication, and travel are going to really be kind of picking up speed, especially now, and especially beginning in 2025 when those north and south nodes go into Virgo and Pisces. So with Aquarius rising, this eclipse is in your second house. There is some event, or maybe culmination, completion, or evolution regarding your finances, your money, things in your life that directly support your physical like existence, essentially. And also, this could be about maybe you've been working on turning a skill or a talent into something that you can monetize, because we have Saturn, that planet of work, going through the same part of your chart since March 2023. Perhaps you've been more responsible or careful with your finances, or perhaps you've been having to just sort of like even maybe feeling a little bit more of a pinch. Perhaps we're like saving for a home or something like that. With this eclipse, there feels like there's a release, a culmination, some sort of event, or awareness or news that's coming in regarding finances. And I do feel like something with your financial life or your assets, are going to change, or there's some sort of new step in this story that's kind of, we're getting a preview of it now, and this is really going to be kind of kicking off through 2025. So changes in finances and also joint finances, I do feel like, are going to be coming in for you. For Pisces rising, last but not least, this is a lunar eclipse in your sign. So this is a completion, a culmination, maybe something emotional, maybe some major milestone. And this is all connected to, I think, personal self-development, how you show yourself to the world, how you approach life, your physical body, and your health. This could be about changes in relationships as well. I really feel like, because Saturn has been in your sign since March 2023, maybe there's been a little bit more on your shoulders, maybe more responsibility. Maybe this feeling of like, I can't get out of this growth phase. I really have to work through it. Like the universe is just not letting me live right now. So I would say this. I would say with this eclipse, this is a really good time to kind of release or surrender. A time to kind of relinquish control. Also, like, because I just don't. I don't feel like eclipses are not a time to really be like, I'm in control of my life and everything. Like, because eclipses kind of remind us that there's like fate has a hand in things, the universe has a hand in things. But I really feel like there's going to be some big changes with how you see yourself, how you show yourself to the world, as well as your relationships and partnerships. They're going to start taking place now, but I also really feel like really get going in 2025. So if you're a Pisces and you're like, I've been single forever, like, when am I going to finally meet someone? I kind of feel like we could start turning something into a committed relationship, maybe beginning now, but probably going more into 2025. Like, I kind of feel like that's like around the corner, and generally just big changes for you. How you see yourself, how the world sees you, how you dress, how you express yourself. These things might be changing, and I really feel like you may be feeling like the pull of like, oh, I feel like I'm going into like a significant part of my life with these eclipses. So starting something new. Again, this is in your first house of self and personality and body. So there's something changing here, maybe just more awareness of these things, but also relationships is the opposite house. So I would think that's probably both. So yeah, let's go ahead and stop that. So I hope that was a helpful little primer or guide on what to expect with these eclipses. Again, if you're wanting like deeper insight, if you want to book an eclipse reading with me, remember to go to my website, Darkstar Oracle, or my Instagram, Darkstar Oracle, or you can just check the link in the show notes in the comments. And yeah, so we'll see you next week with another podcast. We're going to be talking about Mars and Cancer. We also need to talk about the solar eclipse in Libra. So we're doing one of those things. And hope to see you soon. So thanks, everyone. Make sure that you've liked, subscribed, and leave a comment and tell me what's going on for you. Thanks, everybody.